Hey, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies. Time to talk a little high school football here at RacineSportsZone.com. Steve Sparky Fifer with you from the Wendy's Big Show on Sports Radio 1250 WSSP, weekday afternoons from 2 until 6. Gery Woelfel also with us from the Racine Journal-Times. And time to talk about the game last week that we previewed a little bit with Coach Pancotti from Racine Case. They took on Burlington. We knew it was going to be a good game. New coach at Burlington, a little bit differently schematically versus what Hans Block was running at Burlington. Definitely wanted to throw the football a little bit more. And Case owned Burlington early on, and Burlington came storming back to make it a one-point game at 27-26, and Burlington had the ball. And the kid's name is Leipzig, comes up with an interception about 9.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and that really swayed the game because then Burlington got the ball back, didn't do anything. Case came back and kicked a field goal. And just like that, they had a double-digit lead again.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If I was the coach for either Waterford or Burlington, I would have been elated after that game because I saw a lot of good things come out of that game. Obviously, Waterford wins.
Case.
Or Case, yeah.
Yeah.
Pancotti, I mean, you look at his team, and we talked about this last week, they got playmakers. I mean, beside Tyrese Pinson.
Yeah, two guys go for over 100 yards in that game.
Pinson had like an 80-yard touchdown run. Scaife Harris had, I think, a 94-yard kickoff return.
And a 13-yard touchdown run.
They had a couple guys that basically ran for 100 yards. They had a big-time interception.
Yep.
So, I mean, this team has talent. And we didn't even talk about Darian King, who might be the best player on the team. Once he gets, fully acclimated.
They really didn't throw the ball all that much in that
game.
I mean, if you look at the attempts, I think they only had like 10 or 12 attempts or something like that in the game, did Case. So there wasn't a lot of throwing. They just pounded the rock and got the job done. And again, interception, special teams. And you look at the key guy for Burlington, their quarterback, Brad Burling. Now again,
you beat me to the punch.
If I tell you he had 21 carries for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns, you're like, man, that's really good. Yeah. If I told you it was 19 of 33 for 251 yards and 2 touchdowns,
how can you read your notes?
Hey, I'm
here. Do you want my glasses?
No,
you need some
19
readers?
for 33, 251 yards, 2 touchdowns. You're like, boy, that's good.
Absolutely.
The bad part is the turnovers. 3 interceptions and a fumble by the same kid in Burling. And that's really what decided the game.
Yeah,
Burling kept them in the game, for sure. The only reason they were in the game was because of Burling.
Absolutely.
But the reason they lost the game goes back to Burling as well. It looks like it's going to be a one-man show in Burlington.
Yeah, it could be. But Steve Tenhagen is the new head coach at Burlington. And I thought, like I said at the outset, I think he had to be really pleased because that team could have folded real quickly.
Oh, because Case got up early.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they had, what, a 3-touchdown lead or whatever it was early?
I don't know if they got to 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
but
2 or whatever it was. But they jumped on them, and I thought, uh-oh, being a first-year coach, how is this team going to respond? And they responded brilliantly.
Sure.
So, again, if I'm Steve Tenhagen and the Burlington High School team, there's a lot to work with going forward.
And up next for them, they get Horlick coming to Burlington. That's a winnable game, obviously, for Burlington for sure, with Horlick coming to town. Meanwhile, Case has to play.
Well, just touching on that game, that's almost a pivotal game for both these teams. Because Horlick got beaten in its season opener, Burlington got beaten in its season opener. You can't lose 2 games right off the bat and hope to get to the playoffs.
It's all about conference play.
Well, it is to a degree.
Now, Horlick's not going to win their conference for sure. Horlick's not winning their conference because they lost a lot of guys, and it's almost a reload. It's a reloading year, I would say, for Coach Fletcher at Horlick. Burlington, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people. I think Lake Geneva Badger is still the team in the Southern Lakes. I know another media member disagrees and says he thinks it's Waterford.
Well, it's got to be Waterford. I mean, they've won 3 straight titles under Adam Bach, and so I mean, until the king is dethroned, they got to be considered.
Yeah, we'll find out, and we'll get to that Waterford game. But going back to that Case game real quick.
That was the sneeze of our producer.
Yeah. Case, Racine Case, for the last couple of years has had problem closing games, and I got to tell you. I was watching because I was at the Brookfield Central game
against
Whitefish Bay, and I'm on Twitter following all the scores and retweeting and doing what I do on Twitter. And I'm watching the lead just dissipate with Burlington catching up to Case. I'm like, man, if they start off the year and they can't close the first game after being up, that's going to be a shot to the gut for the Case football
That would have
players.
been a downer for them.
Yeah, especially with Waterford coming up next, which is going to be a tougher matchup. So Case, Waterford, that's going to be a really good game. And we'll see what happens. Because Waterford's offense was really stymied by Pewaukee in their last game. And we'll talk about that game next. From week 1, they held on to beat Pewaukee. But Waterford scored 14 in the first quarter, Gary. They didn't do anything the rest of the game and held on to win 14-13.
Yeah, you know what, though? Waterford football under Adam Bach and then even prior to that is predicated on defense.
And they brought back Kerry Vinay to help out on offense, the former Waterford coach before Bach.
Okay, I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I had this right. They played Pewaukee, right? How many yards passing did Pewaukee have?
Pewaukee?
Yeah.
0.
0. And that just speaks volumes to that defense. Pewaukee ran the ball decently, but they didn't get anything through the air. And as long as Adam Bakken's there, that defense is going to be very good. So
no, I agree with you.
But I'll tell you what, the true test comes this week
against Case.
Because
there's a lot of speed.
I guarantee you they will not see another team more explosive than Case. I think Case has a chance to be really good. Not just good, really good.
Well,
I mean, things got to fall into place. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
I think the goal for Case, obviously is to just get to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Get back in the playoffs and continue to build year to year. That's what they need to do, and I think that has to be the goal. And if you look at the Southeastern Conference, it's not all that it used to be, and by any means. I mean, Bradford got hammered by Arrowhead. Now, they're not going to be the last team to get hammered by Arrowhead, so let's not read into that.
No.
But Bradford wasn't very good last year.
Right.
Tremper, you never know. Indian Trail will be good. Mm-hmm. It'll be Franklin, Oak Creek, Indian Trail, and then I don't know. After that, I think it's open.
I agree. The thing I like about this Case team, though, is like we said, they have playmakers.
Yep.
And there's no substitute for playmakers. You put the ball in any one of those 4 guys' hands, they got a chance to go to the house.
How good will they be on defense? I think that's going to be the biggest.
I agree.
And will they be able to defend?
They have some question on the offense line, too. But, I mean, from a pure physical athletic standpoint, I'll tell you, that's an intriguing team.
So, Waterford's their next opponent. They beat Pewaukee 14-13, a big win for Coach Bakken and his crew. We'll see what they do against Case coming up. Other games, Muskego Hammers Park 57-6.
Yeah, that obviously wasn't the way that Dennis Thompson wanted his park team to start out. They had the problem last year, their defense. I mean, they gave up how many yards? Was it 440-some yards? Yep. And 200-some yards rushing, I think it was. But you just can't afford it. They got to bear down on defense.
Muskego is I haven't seen them play this year, but in the last couple of years, they've been a very big physical team.
Yeah, they're a good team.
If you can't match size, you're in trouble.
Right. But Park's got to really, really bear down on defense. I mean, if they don't get that under control, it could be a tough season for them.
Park next takes on Waukesha South at home. That might be a winnable game for Racine Park. McGuanago, they take care of Racine Horlick 31-17. Horlick now gets Burlington next. That game is at Burlington. McGuanago is just a really good team with Clay Iverson. I always preach about how good Clay Iverson is, but he has really turned things around here in the last couple of years at McGuanago.
Oh, no question. It's kind of an important game for Horlick, too. They're going through a transition period.
Yep.
And I thought they played well at times in their season opener. The story of Horlick, though, last week was Alex Peeler. Mm-hmm. A 50-yard field goal. And I'm sure one of our listeners will be calling next week or letting us know somehow. I can't remember a longer field goal around this part of the state than 50 yards.
I can't remember one.
And the crazy thing about it is I talked to some people from Horlick, and they said this kid has consistently kicked 55 to 60 yards in practice.
And he's a kicker and a punter?
Huh? I think he averaged like 44 yards in his 3 punts on top of it. So, I mean, he's obviously has a tremendous leg. I asked Brian Fletcher, the head coach at Horlick, if he had any reservations about bringing him out to kick that 50-yard, and he goes, no, not at all. That is a nice weapon to have.
It's a huge weapon to have.
So this team's going to struggle offensively, but they got to feel comfortable knowing that, hey, if we can get the ball down to the 20 to 30-yard line, we got points coming, you know? So
absolutely right. So we'll see how Horlick progresses next up against Burlington. Another couple of games we got to talk about here. Union Grove beats Evansville Albany.
Big Albany, yeah. It's over by Janesville.
Sure. 25-6, Union Grove wins that one. And Jameson,
that's a big win for the Broncos.
Jameson Radke, 3 catches, 96 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kid's 6'1".
Yeah.
And size will definitely help when you're at that position.
Well, Union Grove had a nice passing attack last year. They're going to have a nice passing attack this year. Nelson and Melendrez are the 2 quarterbacks that they've been alternating.
Yeah, they did.
And
they split
they did a nice job. And Jordan Hines, basically new to Union Grove. He was there last year, obviously, but he's getting his program in place and what he wants to do. So,
where did Hines come from? Do we know?
He actually played football at the University of Wisconsin, so he's got some college pedigree too.
Oh, okay. St. Joe's up next for Union Grove. Racine Lutheran hammers St. John's Military Academy 47-0. And again, Shamaz, is that right? Shamaz Williams. Williams, 20 carries, 132 yards, 3 touchdowns for Racine Lutheran.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. This is the year of the running backs in Racine County, and he's got to be one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in the county. The interesting thing, though, with this game is Racine Lutheran has struggled, as you well know, the last couple of years. They lost to St. John's each of the past 2 years. So to come out and kick them like they did this year, it bodes well for the Crusaders.
It'll be interesting to see how they do going forward. You would assume this will be a better year.
How do you read that?
Than obviously last year.
Did you get C's and D's in penmanship in grade school?
That was a long time ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, you're right. It was a long time.
I'm Steve Sparky, Fifer. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Sports Junkies. We'll talk more high school football next week right here at RacineSportsZone.com.